Hi, I'm Al Martinez, and welcome to Untrashed. Today, I thought it would be appropriate to make an owl that can be used for various things, and we're going to be using trash, the kind of trash that you receive every day, and a lot of it you just throw away. Things like containers for food, drink containers. These get thrown away all the time. And I don't know how many people do a lot of ordering online, but you get a lot of this. So we're going to be using all of this stuff today to make an owl. So I've started a couple things to give you an idea of a couple ways you can make an owl. If you wanted to make a big one, what you can do is you can get a cardboard box and you can draw it out the size that you want. Okay, so here's one sketch that I did, and primarily I just drew what I thought looked like an owl that might be a good silhouette. So I measured the height and looked where I can cut this cardboard box off so I can get the body. Okay, so I've used this part of the box to make the body. So the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make the body, give it some dimension. So I've cut the cardboard so that these corrugation lines are running up and down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the cardboard so that it has some shape. And what I do is I take the cardboard, I put it over the edge of my table, and with my hand, I just crease it. And where the cardboard has that corrugation, you're going to get these folds. It's that easy. That's the great thing about cardboard, is the properties that you learn how to use them to make something that is cool. Okay, so I've done this to one, and I'll show you in a minute how flexible it becomes. And the other thing is that cardboard comes in different strengths. Okay, sometimes if it's something heavy, they'll do cardboard that is cross-laminated, which means it's pretty strong, and you can't really do this with that kind of cardboard because it's designed not to do this. Okay, see how it's got all these lines in it? It makes it much more flexible to do this. So I've done this to one of these in preparation to show you what happens next. So the other thing I did is I cut it along this line to use for the head, and this part I'll use for the body. So I'll take my Stanley knife, cut this part off, and this is going to be the body. So the thing you'll notice with the shape of the owls is up around here the body comes in a bit, and then the head goes out a little bit. So what I've done to do that is I've taken this piece and I put darts in the top. Which I'll show you. So I've just taken my Stanley knife and I've cut a bunch of these thin pie shapes out. So in sewing terms, these are called darts. So if you've done sewing, you know that to change the shape of something flat, to make it curve is you need to cut out some darts. Okay, and it looks like that. So now when I curl this and bring that into a cylindrical shape where these darts are, I bend them in a bit. So when I make this shape, and put it all together, I'm just going to hot glue a piece of shopping bag to hold this closed. Little safety precaution. Always be aware of the hot glue. And when you're working with hot glue, you just need to be a little bit patient from one step to the next, because you got to wait for the hot glue to get cold and really stick. Okay, so there we have the cylindrical or the oval shape of the owl's body. And to bring it into the neck, I just take all these darts and put all the darts together. And I've done the same thing with the shopping bag. So I've glued all around here to create the neck of the owl, which I'll show you. Here's an example that I've done earlier. Okay, so you can see there that all the darts have been glued together with the shopping bag, and that gives the shape of the owl this way. So now you can make the head, and the head you can do the same way as by making a cylindrical shape, and then you can put eyes on it, or ears and feathers, whatever you like. So that's one way. The other thing you can do is you can take the containers, which are already round, and think about what you can do to make this look like owl. So these are all the things that you throw away, okay? And this is untrashed. So we're gonna untrash a few of these things. We're gonna untrash this, and we're gonna untrash this. The reason I chose these is because this fits perfectly in there. And what I wanna do is I wanna make this owl so that I can turn its head in every direction, the way that owls go like this. It looks like their head's on a swivel, and they can just look in any direction. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to give the bottom of it a bit of shape, and I'll do that by adding some cardboard to it. Now, one of the things that you need to understand when you start making these cylinders with cardboard is the computation called pi. And pi is how to calculate the circumference based on the diameter. So the diameter of this tube so this is 5 inches. So pi is 3.145926, and the number goes on forever. But if you multiply 5 by 3.14, it tells you how much material you need to go all the way around this. So I did that, and I cut this piece that length. I've also taken this over the edge of the table, and I've done the folding, so I can easily bend it around. So I'm going to do that to this. Oh, I lied, look, I forgot to cut this. And the other thing you do is just, if it's too long, you just fold it over like this. Take your pencil, where you're going to cut it, and you cut it along the line. Okay, that's the cool thing about this, is the cardboard has already got lines that you can cut straight. So that length equals the circumference of this circle. So I'm going to hot glue this to this cylinder. I'll just hold this for a second while the glue dries. And I'll also take some paper and glue it just around, just to be careful, just to be a bit quicker. Okay, so that adds a little bit of shape to the neck. You can do as much as you like. It depends on how much curvature you want. So now I'm going to think about how to put feathers on this part. And what I thought is we can take shopping bags, which you probably get a ton of, and we're going to cut them into strips like this. Okay, so you take your shopping bag, pull the handles off, and then we're going to cut the bottom off. Now the way that I cut the bottom off so I can save the whole body of the bag is I take a pair of scissors and right along this edge and this edge I'm going to cut off. So having done a lot of work with shopping bags, I found this is the best way to get the most amount of paper from the shopping bag. And if you've seen some of the other Untrashed episodes that I've done, there's one episode where I actually made a book from the shopping bags. And the great thing about the book, or the shopping bags, for making books, is the fact that it's got all these folds. And that's one of the elements that you need when you make a book. aside. And then you've got a continuous circle of paper. So I've taken my scissors and I've cut this into 4 strips. So I'm going to use these strips to make the feathers that we're going to put on the body of the owl. And as I've said before in these episodes, there's really no rules on how you do what I'm suggesting that we're going to make. So if you were going to make your own owl, you can add the feathers however you want. Okay, so you've got these strips. And what I want to do is I want to cut these so I can wrap this around here to make like feathers. So one of the ways I did is I took my scissors and I cut a stylized feather shape. This is one way to do it. The other way you can do it, put it on your cutting board, grab your Stanley knife, so then you've got this row of feathers. Okay, so we'll take that. We're going to take the body of the owl and we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to glue this around the body. Now you don't have to put hot glue all the way around because the feathers are all connected by paper. So I'm basically just putting spot glue here and there. And when I meet up with that first feather, I'm going to cut that off. Glue that down. And then when I put the next layer on, and also notice that I put the feathers so that they overhang the bottom of the, so when you set it down, it looks like the feathers are squishing down when the owl sits down wherever it sits. So when I put the next layer on, I'm going to put the point between the two lower feathers. And what that does is it sort of overlaps the feathers the way that the feathers are on the bird. This is also true for dragon scales. If you own a dragon, you'd know that. And if you watched one of the episodes quite a while ago, you remember I made a dragon egg using pizza boxes for cutting the scales. So for me, doing Untrashed is all about playing. It's all about fantasy. It's all about your imagination. It's all about how do I have fun with what people throw away? Where I grew up, that was all we had to play with. What people threw away, that was our craft stuff. The thing that it taught me the most is use your imagination on what you can do with trash. What can you do with this soda can that someone's thrown away? I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so got another row of feathers here. You could probably do the same thing with fabric, like if you cut strips of t-shirt. I'll have to do one of the Untrashed with lots of old t-shirts, because that you can do a lot of fun stuff. The other thing is, if you forget about what you're doing and you glue it with the shopping bag colors outside, that's okay, because when you do the next row, you're going to hide a lot of that shopping bag anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a few more feathers. And for those of you that have watched a lot of these, I want to remind you that you can spend as much or little time as you want to on these things. Some of the things we do are quite quick, and others are very time consuming. It just depends on how much time you want to put into each one of these. And it's always up to your imagination. The best thing about doing Untrashed is you learn about different materials, okay? You learn about paper, you learn about plastic, you learn about aluminum, you learn about the different kinds of plastic. All this stuff is great when you learn it and you use it in ways to entertain yourself. So I'm going to do this last row of feathers, and then I'm going to start working on the head so you get an idea of what I had in mind. Because you've already got the idea of how to cover the body with feathers. I've given you the idea of how to give it shape. And the next idea I'm going to give you has a little bit to do with puppet making. Okay, for many years, my job was to make puppets and props for theater. And people always ask me, well, what kind of puppets have you made? And I always said, I've made all kinds of puppets. One of the puppets I made was a piece of rope for a show. And the thing about making puppets was that you can take something like a pair of scissors and you can turn them into a puppet, because the puppet can talk. You know, the pair of scissors can talk. The pair of scissors can look around. Yes, it's you. You're the one that's talking. Yes, I'm talking. Okay, that's puppetry. So this can be a puppet. So this is the body, and this is going to be the neck and the head. So it fits inside like that. And how do I turn this into a head? Again, I've taken a bit of cardboard. I've done the bending. I've measured around here to know how long a piece of cardboard I have. And I'm going to take this piece of cardboard and glue it on here to show you the idea. So that's roughly the rough shape of the owl's head. Now this is a great horned owl. So these 2 points here, they're feathers that the owl has, and it makes it look like horns. That's why it's called the great horned owl, also known as the screech owl. So now you can add feathers to this. You can make these feathers as wide or as narrow as you like. And you can color them in. It's always up to you. Okay, so that's the head. So let's give it some eyes. So it depends on the different size of the owl that you're making. And in terms of untrashed, this is my collection. I've got tops from milk bottles. I've got soda cans and bottles, beer bottles. These are tops from, I think, hydrogen peroxide or something. But they've got 2 different parts. So one of the things that I did is I thought if I'm making a bigger owl, I could give it nice big eyes like this. Okay? This part is that part of the can. So one of the things that I showed in previous episodes was how to take the bottom of the can off. So this aluminum is like so thin, you can easily cut it with a sharp knife. So I've just taken my Stanley knife, and you can feel where the aluminum is soft. So you just take your knife there, and you just push it in real gently. In one of the episodes of Untrashed, I actually use this aluminum to make bookmarks and to actually make something you could put on the cover of a book. But it's super easy to use. You can easily cut it with your scissors. Very flexible. But anyway, let's get back to this part. So I've taken this part, I've taken this little part of this hydrogen peroxide piece off, and I'm going to hot glue it right to the center. Okay, so there you have two owl eyes that you could put on your bigger owl. For this one, I'm going to use these two. I think these were beer bottle, and they've covered it in like a gold foil. So I'm going to glue these onto here. And we'll give it a little beak. So what am I going to use for the beak? Let's try using part of this. If I can, it's really tough. No, let's try something else. Let's try using some of this. I'm going to use this black part here. So here's the magic part. I'm going to put the neck into the body. And this owl sits on your shoulder, and I can turn its head. Okay. That's how you can bring this Untrashed to life. So those are a couple of ideas that I thought would be fun to work with, using the trash that gets thrown away, all the stuff that people don't think is worth anything, but when you look at it, you think, I can do something with it. Okay? Thanks for watching. And remember, every little bit of Untrashed helps.